the finance minister set out a plan in the Union Budget 2022-23, and the challenges before her were very much on the higher side. The top on the list was finding the way and mean to create a job for the 53 million who were unemployed as of December last year. The data from the Center for Monitoring the Indian Economy, much of the devastation that was caused in 2020-21 when the two waves of the pandemic that triggered the Indian economy badly and pushed it into the degrowth scenario, and it has crippled those businesses across many sectors, more so the MSMEs, and that accounted the bulk of the employment. The fuel and the food inflation that reared its ugly head, driven by a steep rise in the international price of crude oil, that bringing the misery to the normal consumers. On the brighter side, the economy was lately showing the sign of recovery, though somewhat that by the third wave that caused by the latest Omicron variant, and this economy grew at 8.4% in the second quarter of the current fiscal, that nowhere near its potential for the growth for the Indian economy. Currently, the potential that the country has or should be to driven the right path to the economy, and those priority for the spending in many various sectors, for the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, for the Ministry of Ports and Shipping, along with Waterways, and Ministry of Railways and Ministry of Road Transport and Highways, Ministry of Power. All these sectors have some interesting budget revenue in the last year and also in the future coming years in the budget estimate. That's the data that shows the potentiality and the expectation from the government is able to provide, and that's how this economy will reach to its dream $5 trillion economy in the next. The ministry's decision that rather than dispense those situations in the doles mode, he also would prime the economy by giving a massive boost to the public spending. The government capital expenditure is increased by 35% from the budget expenditure of 5.54 lakh crore in the last year, previous budget section, to the 7.5 lakh crore in the next, which comes to the 2.9% of the total GDP. And the figure includes the 1 lakh crore worth of interest-free loan to the state for the project they may want to take up, and that the capital expenditure on the infrastructure in the sector that he described as the 7 engines of the growth. That's those 7 engines, as I mentioned, that is the roads, railway, airports, mass transport, waterways, and ports and logistics. All the 7 engines will put forward the engine of the nations and the economy in a similar way, and this will be complemented by the energy transmission, the IT communication, digitalizations, bulk water and sewage, as well as to the social infrastructure. The ministry has much more focused on those capital expenditure of those 7 engines of growth, that the important section of this recent budget that has announced, and the budget is full of possibility, hope, and more on the infrastructure, and based on Gati Shakti planning, and that more investment, higher growth, and more employment generation, and that has increasingly banking on infrastructure creation to pull the economy out of the slowdown that comes on the back of 4 years of high infra outlays. The section that is 3.36 lakh crore in financial year 20, 4.39 lakh crore in financial year 21, 5.54 lakh crore in financial year 22, and now 7.5 lakh crore in financial year 23. That's has launched those ambition of 102 lakh crore national infrastructure pipeline project That is a part of this national infrastructure pipeline project, and that's the ambition that backed by those 7 engines of economic growth. The public investment also must continue to take those lead, and the private investment and the demand that is created in 2022-23 financial year at the time of two key drivers of those economic growth, that is a consumption demand and private investment that has considerably slowed down because of the pandemic, and that centers aim to ignite the supply side trigger of the economy that will boost the economy subsequently, that will enhance the growth of the economy, and ultimately it's enhance the GDP perceptions and those projections of the ultimate dream ambition of $5 trillion economy in the next few years. And that's the belief that will create enough avenue for the growth in the medium to long term, which is by the calculation that would pave the way to more jobs than can drive the consumer spending and demand. And the budget is also restoration of growth and creating the gainful employment in various sectors. The employment that will be created through the growth and not through the other initiative. That growth is the best creator of the employment, and to do that we have gone in a many increase in the valuation for the capital expenditure, which is acknowledged to have a high multiplier effect on the economy. The limited resources at the government disposal were deployed in that directions. The instrument that the center's planning that aim to channelize those huge increase in the government spend, that is the PM Gati Shakti, that will take a transformative approach in many sectors to boost those economic growth. That the scope of this Gati Shakti master plan that comprises the 7 engines, that the economic transformation and the seamless multimodal connectivity and logistic efficiency. The 6.9% of GDP, that is a fiscal deficit, that is the current year at against 6.8 projected. The budget estimate, the aim is to develop those indigenous and make in India technology, to make it to the world class for the export to the country that use a very good railway network. That is a statement for the Union Minister for the Railways, Communications, for the development of the railway in ministry, the development of railway sector. The capital expenditure is also likely to crowd in the private investment and the support. The capital expenditure hike, the enhanced value of this capital expenditure is likely to crowd in the private investment and support those economic growth, and it will induce the demand for the services and manufacture those inputs from the large industries and the MSME that will help the farmers to the better infrastructure to boost in each and individual small industries that will drive for the economic growth in future. And those input and the services in the manufacturing sector from the large industry that will ultimately provide the best services to the end consumers, and that's how this 7 engine of transformation will be ultimately enhance the entire plan to expand the economic scale. That's all for now. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.